The park map had a black strip over the ridge trail. I peeled the corner to see the name. At the trailhead, yellow tape crossed the entrance. I stepped past it. It was shoulder season at Red Hollow State Park, the lot 3/4 empty. The ranger station dark except for an exit sign that glowed like a held breath. A plywood kiosk wore the usual pleasant rules in federal font. Stay on marked trails, carry water, respect closures. If you see a hazard, text the number below with a pin. Someone had stapled a new sheet on the corner, red text with a thumbprint in the margin. Ridge loop temporarily closed due to unstable conditions. A strip of black tape blocked the trail line on the free paper maps, as if Sharpie could erase a hill. Wind pressed the tape across the entrance, but the trees around me were still. I stood there with my boot toe on packed duff and my other foot already over the line because rules written in fear itch at me. I told myself it was storm damage up high, or a washout a ranger didn't want to shepherd day hikers around. I have decent boots, a headlamp, a whistle, a rain shell, and the little stupid confidence that comes from not getting lost yet. I went anyway. The dirt single track tightened through fir and pine, the kind that keeps your eyes scanning for roots while your nose memorizes sap. Birds were scarce for afternoon. One jay scolded twice and stopped like the script had ended. Far below, the river sounded like it had a blanket over it. I counted my steps to bleed off the small electric feeling I pretend is caffeine. At 200 I passed a wooden post that said 0.5 miles, and at 200 more another post that also said 0.5 miles. The map in my pocket showed tiny switchbacks here, but the trail ahead drew almost straight, a seam in the trees. My phone's compass spun once, steadied, then forgot north again. Service was a blank banner with the little hopeful asterisk. I tucked the phone away and tried to be a person who earned their views. The first blowdown lay like a rib across the trail, bark peeled in long paper strips. I swung my leg over and felt the tape brush my shin. I looked down and there was no tape, just a spider silk that glowed and was gone. Something watched from the understory in the way forests watch, with lots of tiny eyes that don't belong to faces. I told myself to stop narrating fear to myself like content. At a bend, the closure tape crossed the path again, tied to 2 alders with a neat square knot. The yellow was the same brand as at the trailhead. The ink on it said "Do not enter" in the same tired font. The wind here did not move it. I could have turned back there and had a good story and a normal pulse. Instead I lifted it, ducked, and felt it tap my pack like a hand that would remember me. Past the tape, the dirt went soft, like many feet had turned here and tamped the evening into mud and then back to dust. A laminated notice had been nailed at eye level. The ink sun-faded except the date in ballpoint. Today's. It said crews were assessing hazard trees and recent slides and to respect all closures for your safety. Someone had added in pencil, light and shaky, "Don't answer if it knows your name." I traced the letters with my eye and did not say them in my head, even though that is what heads do. The light through fir tops went the kind of gold that lies to you about how much time you have. I checked my watch, 3:47. I checked my phone, 3:17. The seconds on both crawled but did not agree. The trail narrowed along a cut where roots clutched at air, and a small footbridge carried me over a trickle that had already learned to sound like night. The planks had numbers burned into them. One said 12, the next 13, the next 12 again, as if it had been replaced and forgot its place. I took a photo and it came out fine except my foot wasn't where it should be. In the picture my toe hung over air. On the bridge it was on wood. A cold went through me the way a draft goes under a door. Polite but total. I kept walking because walking has always fixed stupid brain tricks before. The feeling of being seen settled in. Not a stare from one place but a soft measurement from many. When I turned to check the trail behind me, the yellow tape was there again, across the corridor of trees, unflapping. It was tied to one of the same alders with the same square knot, except the bark here wore a scar I'd only seen near the first bend. I ducked under it again because the only choice more terrifying was to believe it had moved. The promise of a viewpoint pulled me on like a story that owes you an ending. The slope eased and the trees thinned and I stepped into a little clearing with a log bench and a signpost that said nothing at all. Where the trail should have continued there was orange fencing tacked to stakes and, beyond that, churned dirt the color of old coffee. The fence sagged as if something heavy leaned from the other side sometimes. My phone buzzed against my thigh with a tone I use for work emails. The banner said Ranger Station and under it unknown. I don't know why I answered. Maybe because silence felt like agreement. Security, I said, because habit owns my mouth. A breath wasn't mine, then my own voice brighter. Don't cross. Step back. Don't say it. I pulled the phone away without hanging up and heard my breath from a small distance, the way you hear it when you speak into a paper cup. The banner still said Ranger Station and under it unknown. I thumbed end. It wouldn't. The button grayed, then came back. Then the call died on its own like a line cut with teeth. I stepped back because the pencil note had asked me not to answer if it knew my name. 3 paces took me to the bench. The dirt at my feet remembered other feet. The prints weren't crisp, more like the idea of boots going out and back. A jay made one half-hearted cry and choked it off. Wind had not reached this pocket. The orange fence sagged twice in slow breaths that didn't match my chest. Beyond it, the churned slope had the raw look of a slide, still fretted with little pebbles that hadn't found their places yet. The cut dropped into fir tops and nothing I could see. If I stayed, it felt like I was waiting for a turn in a queue I hadn't meant to join. I decided to go back. Going back meant ducking under the tape again. It felt heavier now, like it had picked up water that didn't exist. It tapped my hood when I lifted it. The knot rasped like cloth on teeth. The map in my pocket felt suddenly important, paper against my thigh like a note I should have read better. I pulled it out. The black strip over the ridge loop peeled a little more with sweat from my hand, and the words under it looked like RID, something before the tape settled. The little "you are here" dot had wandered a quarter inch from the trail, like I had put it in the wrong place with my mind. The path downslope was narrower than I remembered. The bridge planks numbered themselves wrong again. 11, 12, 12, 13, 11. I put my boot on the off number and felt nothing dramatic, just a tired wood flex that told me it could decide not to be there next time. A mosquito wrote its cursive around my ear. I waved it and hit only warm, mindless air. When the tape crossed the trail again, I stopped being surprised and started tallying. First bend, bench, bridge, third closure. The knot here wasn't the neat square anymore. It was a slip knot, easy to lift. Whoever tied it wanted a choice kept open. I lifted it and ducked, and my pack caught with a small entitled tug. On the far side, a nailed notice leaned. The date was still today. The pencil line under the print had changed. The hand was my hand now, the letters a little too square. It read, "Answer if it says your name in a voice you hate, not one you love." The graphite had smudged where a thumb rested. The whirl was mine and not. I took my whistle between my teeth and gave it 2 sharp blasts because doing is better than counting. The sound went out the way noise does in damp forest and came back at me dull and twice. The echo's second note arrived half late, pitilessly human. 100 feet behind me, leaf litter scuffed like a step and stopped when I turned too quickly. The sky through the firs had slid toward nickel. My watch said 4:26. My phone said 3:47 again and failed to notice. I set a timer for 20 minutes as a promise to turn the world back on if it let me. I heard it before I saw. The breath a person controls when they want you not to know they're close. Then the slight complaint of plastic against fabric. A pack strap adjusted on a shoulder like mine. I rounded a switch that hadn't been there on the way up and saw myself 20 yards ahead. Back to me, moving careful and thinking about ankles. Same jacket, same factory iron-on speck on the right elbow. Same stupid ponytail bunched through the cap. I said hey without saying my name because of the pencil note. The figure turned a degree as if to hear better, then resumed. The small electric hair at the inside of my elbows prickled, and I felt watched not by a person but by an event. I didn't try to catch up. I didn't want to see the front of me. Now the tape hung again, strung between 2 alders that were actually the first pair I'd met hours earlier or 5 minutes ago. The knot here was a square again. A laminated map had been wired to the post. The blacked-out ridge glowed whiter where the tape had peeled, rawer, like a scar picked too soon. Someone had written in pen where the legend should be, "Remain on corridor after last chime." The Ranger font did not have chimes. The wind did not move the sign. My timer vibrated 3 slow pulses and said done as if something ordinary had completed. I ignored it. The phone lit with a new banner. If you see a hazard, text a pin with a photo. It didn't say who to text. I took a photo anyway. The alders, the knot, my hand holding the tape up. On the screen, my thumb's print looked like a ring of water. Behind the tape, 20 yards beyond, I stood at the bench again, head down, phone in hand. I was wearing the same jacket and watching the same screen. The image jittered with the way the air above warm ground shivers, then went still. I lowered the phone and there was only the corridor and the taped line and my own hand. I stepped back 3 paces because a rule had started to live in my muscles whether I liked it or not. I put the whistle in my mouth again and didn't blow it. 2 feet behind my left ear, the air clicked like a cheap bell. My brain supplied elevator, lobby desk, phones that want you to pick up. Something brushed my pack as gentle as a passing branch and left nothing on the fabric when I ran my palm over it. I thought of the square knot. I thought of my own handwriting on the notice I had not written. I crouched and ducked and ran under the tape because whatever the rule was, I had already broken the first one. On the far side, the trail widened to the lot so quickly I almost tripped on the change. Asphalt surprised my boots. The ranger station glowed its exit sign like it had never turned off. A pickup sat under a fir showered in needles. No one at the window. My car waited where I'd left it. A little chalk of dust up the side like a hand had dragged there. The map on the kiosk still had a black tape strip, but it now covered the entire sheet except the lower right corner where someone had written with a ballpoint that had nearly given up. Don't let it walk you out. If you're out, don't turn around. Go where there are eyes. I unlocked the car from too far away and the horn gave one stupid chirp. In the driver window, I was late by half a blink. I opened anyway. Inside smelled like last week's coffee and pine the wind had carried. He said. The seatbelt tongue found the buckle the second time. I didn't look in the mirror. I turned the key and the dash clock read 3:17, then thought about 4:29, then settled on 1:16 a.m. because why not? The phone woke with my thumb and presented a new text from a number labeled Ranger Station that I had not saved. It said, in a clean system bubble, please remain in your car after the final chime. The lot was so quiet I could hear my engine idle. Then, from the trailhead behind me, tape fluttered once in wind that didn't exist. I put the car in gear. I looked forward. I did not back out. I curved forward like a person taking a polite turn through a nearly empty lot. On the way past the kiosk, I rolled the window down because my hand wanted to touch paper. The park map under the plexi had a fresh strip of tape across the middle. The corner had lifted in the heat. Under it, I could read enough of the hidden word to make it worse. Ridge loop. Someone else had pried there. A perfect thumb whirl shone in the softened adhesive. It matched mine when I pressed, warmer than plastic should hold. I drove out. The gate was just 2 posts with chain and a sign that said closed after a storm icon. The chain hung loose. Past it, the 2-lane road followed the river like a tired dog. My radio found no station. Then the weather. Fog advisory for the valley floor. Use low beams. Do not stop on bridges. My phone threw me a route home that wavered and then fixed. Aaron texted, "Are you hiking?" with a timestamp from an hour ago and one from now. I wrote back, "Just got to the car," and didn't send it. The rear view offered only green and a slice of sky. I refused it. At the last bend before the highway, the park put up one more small sign on a metal post. Federal font. Clean white. "Thank you for visiting Red Hollow," it said. "Be safe." Someone had stuck a little strip of yellow tape under it and tied it in a square knot that my hands knew how to make. As I passed it, my phone vibrated with the soft polite chime the rideshare app uses when your driver arrives. A banner slid. "Your ride is here." Under it, route trailhead to home. Tap to meet at Ridge Loop Gate B. I locked the screen without looking. The sound of my tires on the pavement braided with the river and the breath in my own throat and a softer breath that matched mine and then missed by one. I didn't check the mirror. I don't know what followed me out or if I walked it or if it walked me. The exit sign in my head stayed green. Somewhere behind my left ear, a tiny bell decided to ring and then didn't. I kept driving until there were eyes again.